Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining today. It's Shawn Torres, CEO and co-founder of In-telecom. It's my first time using CrowdStrike, so I think that I'm live in here. Um, if anybody wants to hit the chat just to make sure that we are here, I'd appreciate it. So it said I'm live, so I guess I am. Looking live. All right, awesome, awesome. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I've been busy. Things are moving and shaking. It's interesting to see where the company's been going over the last 2 years. It's kind of happening really fast and very aggressive, but I tend to do better in chaos. So I think it works out better. I'm excited to be here today to talk about taking action and getting after it. You know, obviously the journey, I've been doing this 15 years, and the journey's just kind of been a daily grind. It still is today. It's never really changed for me from the very beginning back in 2009 all the way till now. So sometimes it's nice to look up and look at what we've built and what we've put together, and it's pretty special, and it's pretty incredible to see what we've done, especially over the last 5 years. It's been really exciting. I think that this space is so young, and there's so much runway in the MSP space, and where technology is heading across the world in general. And you think about today, we're almost a utility at this point. You really can't operate a business without tech. Most companies cannot operate. So I feel like we're in a very exciting, blessed space that has so much runway and growth potential. So even in bad economies, we've kind of proven that we can continue to scale. So those of you that don't know me, I originally founded the company. My plan was to do telecom expense management, and obviously we evolved very quickly throughout that. In 2009, we did $8,400 in revenue, top line, not net income, top line. And most people would have quit. I even wanted to quit at times. In 2010, we did right at 64,000 in top line revenue. So it was another rough year for us. And then we quickly pivoted outside of doing telecom expense management and got into doing physical phone systems. So those of you that are out there that are afraid to pivot, I'm a big fan that sometimes if things aren't working in your business, I'm not saying you gotta pivot early, because I've made those mistakes too. But I think pivoting is critical into what's working and what's not working. I'm a big believer that if your business is not growing and you're not moving the bar year after year, something's not working. So, and you should recognize that. A lot of times, from what I'm noticing at some of these conferences that I go to, and I have all these MSP owners come and ask me questions about sales and growth and all these different things. A lot of them, it's their fault on why they're not growing, and they make excuses like I'm not a salesperson, or I don't know sales. And well, I mean, I didn't know what a server was, and sometimes you just got to learn, and you got to do the hard stuff and figure it out. Or sometimes you got to hire your way out of it. And some of the advice that I always give to these young guys in the MSP space, especially with an engineering background, and we all get into something because we love it, and we find out we're good at it, and we decide we're going to go out and do it on our own, and then it kind of turns into something that can become unmanageable. And that's what I see a lot of in the space between the $3 and $5 million mark. And you should probably go hire a CEO that is sales focused. If you think about corporations in general, without without growth and profitability, most CEOs get fired. So if you're not willing to fire yourself, then that's probably your first step into taking some action into figuring out how to grow your business. Because in my opinion, if your business is not growing year after year, something's wrong. We all have a down year. Knock on wood. In telecom, we have had 15 years of growth and have never not done more revenue than the year before. And a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do that? Right. We set goals, we hold ourselves accountable to them, and we talk about them every single day. And we push every single day. We don't go home and close out a month without pushing revenue. It was interesting. I was at a big CEO roundtable 2 weeks ago in California. There was some really big MSPs in the room, and it was interesting to hear. They were asking me some questions like, what do you spend percentage wise on sales and marketing of your gross margin? And I kind of felt like an idiot. I didn't know that answer. But I never really thought about it like that because we just push to grow and we drive revenue. And we spend about 15.5% of gross margin on sales and marketing. And that has been generating on average about 30,000 a month of net new MRR. And we've maintained our churn number at a very low rate. We obviously lose clients as part of it, right? But we're not afraid to lose a client. We make mistakes. And I think a lot of MSPs where they screw up is they're so afraid to challenge a client or fire a client because they don't know how to sell. That's the reality is you don't have an ability to drive revenue. And if you can't drive revenue, you let the client bully you or tell you how to do it or how it's going to be done. And I'm just not a big fan of allowing that to be that way. It's a partnership. We have to work together in order for this to work. And there's risk at play on both sides. So I'm not willing to take risk for a client if they're not willing to make investments in their business and get it to the right place. So, and again, a lot of people, they're just afraid that if they lose, they can't lose the revenue because if they lose the revenue, they're working backwards. But if you built a sales engine and had an ability to drive sales, you can do so. So obviously my background's in sales, so I have a different perspective on what it should be, but that doesn't mean you can't go hire someone to be the guy in charge to lead the charge and move the bar and drive revenue the way it should be. Even if you go hire a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to go hire a CRO. Well, if you're a $5 million company, you probably don't need a CRO. You're not there yet. So get over that title. I would just hire a salesperson and drive them to metrics. And it's pretty simple if you think about building metrics on what your return on investment is. And a lot of people that I've talked to in the industry, they get so caught up on, well, I don't know how to manage them. Well, it's kind of like managing a help desk person. You have expectations, right? How many tickets should they do a day? What should there be their average time to resolution? What should their kill rate be? In the sales model, it's the same thing. How many calls should they make? How many calls equate to a open opportunity? How many open opportunities actually lead to a quote? And how many quotes actually lead to a close? So if you just manage that, and you got to remember, you can't do it in a way where your expectations are you want them to turn revenue around in 90 days. Because the reality is in the managed service space, most sales cycles are generally you got to build pipeline first and foremost, right? That takes time. What does your messaging look like? A lot of you don't have proper messaging on what your pitch is, I guess you'd say. I'm not a big fan of pitches, but I know you have to use that phrase. I'm more on conversations. I think you have to have good conversations with people, and that's how you get to results. And it's not about calling someone and just saying, hey, it's Shawn. I got this really cool IT stack, and I want to come talk to you about it. Think about questions you can ask within your ideal client. Think about the challenges that you look at within an organization and fix. And some of those things are the crucial components that are going to allow you to broaden those conversations and then listen to those conversations and perfect them and do it over and over. When I first started this company, I would probably make 100 to 150 calls every single day. Not even really knowing what I was talking about, but just kept doing it over and over and over. And I wanted to do $1 million in revenue. We just, Jimmy and I thought it would be really cool to do $1 million in revenue. And our third year, we did it, and we just did it by holding ourselves accountable to do $83,333 of billing each month. And if we did that, we did $1 million. So the first year we did it, um, we went into the next year, and I remember us sitting down and talking about the next year, and we said, well, we're going to do 2 million. And I never forget Jimmy looking at me and saying, well, how are we going to do 2 million? And I said, well, it's pretty easy. We're going to do 166,000 a month, and it's going to push us to 2 million. And I wrote on a whiteboard in my office the number, and I was doing all the billing in QuickBooks. So I would go in there and look at what I build every single day, and keep tallying it every day, and held myself. In the months that I went over, I had some runway, and the months I went under, I needed to make it up. And I gave myself a quota and an objective of where I was trying to go, and I held myself accountable to it. And I didn't stop. I didn't go home early on Friday. This has never been a lifestyle business for me. It still isn't today. In-telecom doesn't pay for my vacations. It doesn't pay for fancy trips. You know, I get a salary and I have to perform in order to provide for the families that are here, and as well as my own family. And obviously, of course, I've done well for myself, but I've earned every bit of it. I don't have any investors. I don't have any private equity. Our run rate this year is right at 34 million. And we're looking at next year. We did some planning today, me and Ben Bergeron, our VP of revenue, and it looks like it's going to be pretty easy to hit 47 million. So it can be done. And once you get past, the hardest part, in my opinion, is breaking that $10 million mark. And when you break it, it's going to break a lot of shit, right? You're going to hit that ceiling of what does that feel like? And it sucks at times. And sometimes you're working on process while you're going 1,000 miles an hour, but that's okay. I'm a big fan of momentum and velocity. And if you cannot build momentum in your business, there's a problem. And you need to figure out why you can't get that momentum and get it to move. Because if you're not moving it, you're dying, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. And I think too many MSP owners don't look at it that way. They think they're very mature because they have their best stack. They think they're have the best engineers, and they overthink things, and they take too long to get things finished, and you piss clients off. You don't build a stable service team, because when you hit the 3 to 5 million and you have all this work coming in, you can't do everything, and you have to rely on other people, and you're not building the systems to allow them to flourish and do what they need to do. And if you don't do that and continuously work on the business and not in the business, and look, I'm victim of doing that myself, and working in the business. And it's imperative that you take time outside to work on it. Don't wait. We always say, well, we're going to wait. There's been times where we say, look, we got to call a Saturday meeting because we got to get together, and we got to make this happen. It's long hours. It's long days. I hear a lot of these MSPs tell me they want to be at this size. And I'll tell you, it's not easier. It's way harder. It's brutal at times. Just the mistakes get more costly. The head count gets costly, and you have to invest. And you just got to go. I'm a big component of just going and figuring it out as we go, biting off more than I can chew over and over and over again. But if you look at the client base and the things that we're doing today, we're willing to challenge ourselves and put ourselves in scenarios that we're uncomfortable, because that's when we grow. We're not scared to go make the investment to hire the right staff to get ahead of it. And I think that's where the nice thing with building the sales org, the way that I'm explaining, is that now you have an ability to grow into your expense. So you can't be afraid to spend the money. It's kind of like a lot of salespeople, right? We go out and buy the fancy car, and then we say, well, shit, we just got to sell into it and be able to pay the note. So it's very similar in this space. And sure, it's risky. We take risk every single day. But if you're running your MSP right, and you just focus on doing the right things every single day, and taking care of your people, and coaching the salesperson and working with them, and driving the revenue. If you think about your ROI that you get, I'm sure a lot of you are selling your contracts at a 60 to 70 point gross margin pre-service. So post-service, you should be ranging somewhere in the 47 to 50 range. So if you're in that 50% gross margin range, like you're making enough money to invest it back into the sales department. And like you just got to start with one and build from there. And when that one starts performing, you go get another one and another one and another one. I'm a component. I think you should hire two because one is risky, right? Hire two to kind of measure what's working and what's not working, and talk about it every single week. And if you don't know sales, I suggest you start reading some books, start asking questions, reaching out to people like myself. Brent with Success IT is an incredible guy. Don Monastero with General Informatics, great sales guy. Like, he's a CEO of that company and he's in my market and we're friends and we talk. And I think that you should. Well, why not? Be vulnerable enough to reach out to someone and ask the hard questions. We do it today on the technical and engineering side. There's times where I'm getting into scenarios and I'm not a tech or engineer by trade. When I started this company, I didn't even know what an IP address was. And I look at some of the conversations that I'm getting into today with some high level CIOs of some very large organizations. And, I understand it enough, but it took me to challenge myself to do that. And that's where I look at a lot of people inside of this space that just make excuses on why they can't grow. Been in business for 12 and 15 years and are at $3 million. Like, why? That's sorry. And if I'm offending anybody, I apologize, but why are you still at that size? Like, it's your fault. It's your business. No one's going to save you, but you. So you got to remember that, take action, take it under control. Like, that's the nice part about, being the owner is you're there to work and serve for the people that work for you. And why is a salesperson not successful? I've made the mistakes of getting aggressive and driving them out of the organization instead of taking time and spending with them to understand, like, why is it not working? Why are they not motivated? Why are they going home at 3:00? Why are they getting out of bed at 9 and not starting their day early? But I also think that you as a leader have to lead from the front. And good leaders don't push, they pull. So I'm a big component of, I like to get up early and start my day early and go to the gym at 5 a.m. and get my workout done and be ready for the day. And yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm busy. But I make time. I have 3 young children. I have a wife. I have a very busy family. So it's sacrifices at times, but I also look at what do you want to get out of your business and what are you willing to do? Pick up the damn phone. I mentored a guy not too long ago and we got to talking about some of the struggles he was having, and he told me that he wanted me to coach him, and I'm not a coach today. I'm more than willing to have a conversation, but to charge somebody money to be their coach, it's just not my deal. So, and I'm going to get to some of these questions here in a minute. So, but when I got on a call with him, it was interesting because I asked him how his growth was, and there was none. It was very minimal. And I said, well, what are you doing to drive business? And he's like, well, I'm going to networking events and, I'm just trying to get it. And I said, okay. I was like, what are you good at? And he said, I'm good at working with attorneys. The first advice I gave him is find a different vertical, but that was his vertical. And he is right. Attorneys do need an MSP. So I think that when looking at that, I asked him, I said, well, what's your pitch? And he had a decent little message that he put together. And then I said, well, why are you not calling people and giving them the message? And he said, well, where do I start? And he's like, man, do I need to go buy a list? Do I need to go do this? Do I need to go pay an outsource SDR company? And I was like, no, you need to do it yourself and perfect your messaging before you do that. Because all they're going to do is take your money and not deliver. I've done that time and time again, and it never gets anywhere. So I did it myself. And what I did is I would just go in an area and type in accounting firms and a zip code in Google, and there's my list. And I didn't have today. We have Zoom Info and all these other really neat tools that definitely make it easier. But we didn't even really have social media as well as it is today when I started this journey. And I just did it by walking in the door and talking to people. I would build areas that I wanted to go target, and I would just get in my car and I would walk in the door and introduce myself, ask if they were using any technology services today, and then just built from there. So, I asked him, I said, why are you not calling? And I he was in Jersey. I pulled up his zip code and attorneys, and there was probably 200 he could call. And I was like, well, start there and just call these people. I said, what I want you to do, and I'll help you. I want you to call all these people. I want you to, if you have the ability to record the call, which you told me you did, I said, I want you to record the calls and call me in a week and let's have a conversation and I'll get on with you and I'll do some coaching with you. And of course, he did not reach back out. I reached out to him again, and nothing. So his business probably will not grow. And the reason it won't grow is because of him. So I think that's just part of it. So if you're not going to put the work in and do it yourself, like, why? Like, do you not want to make more money? Do you not want to grow your business? Do you not want to be able to hire the right engineers to where you can get yourself out of the day to day? And you could do that by bringing in the revenue and allowing yourself to be there. So, how have you I got some questions here. How have you optimized your internal processes to drive profitability or keep up with it? Look, I was always a cash in, cash out accounting guy. So I always looked at I need a deposit more than I would take out. So I got my business up to about $8 million in revenue before I was really looking at true profitability and processes. So I just would keep tabs like an old checkbook and look at, my controller would tell me every day how they deposited, and I would look at the deposits that I got and then push them out. Obviously today we're much different. We're working off forecasting and understanding where revenue is going to be and building a budget. And I think that's great when you get to that $10 million mark. I think between the 5 and 8, it again, drive more revenue than what you spend. And it's quite simple, and you can make money and you can grow your business. And sometimes it goes a little sideways and you got to be able to pivot and move it forward. And sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes your contracts, one, you should know we all have enough information today to know that we should look at our contracts from a pre-service perspective. If you're doing fixed fee contracts, then take the hours that you would think it takes per node. I would say it's anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour and 45 minutes per node. Find the middle there. And you can build automation and get there over time, but just focus on those things and and I had a rule. Every 10,000 in MRR that I brought in, I'd hire the person and just kept doing that over and over and over again. And sometimes it got upside down. And I'll never forget years back going to my controller, Angela, and saying, hey, where does MRR need to be to cover overhead? And she would tell me it needs to be at 300,000. Then I'd get the MRR to 300,000. I'd look up and I'm like, why is it not there? I wasn't realizing this is a very labor intensive business. So as it grows, like, you're always catching up, right? And driving it in. Because if you're making the right investments on self-funding your deals, which we all know it takes time to make money in managed services, we've always self-funded. That was just because I was ignorant and didn't know that I could take on debt. But it also created an engine that I would use my non-recurring revenue and kept a pulse on it to drive MRR. So I hear a lot of companies say, like, don't focus on non-recurring revenue, only focus on monthly recurring revenue. I disagree. I think you have to have a good blend, right? But I think that the NRR allows you to drive cash flow in order to continue managing and growing your business and reinvesting over and over and over. And so not everything's going to work out. I did a pay-per-click campaign last year. I never been a big marketing guy. I felt like I needed to do it. And I spent $90,000 in 3 months and didn't turn around one lead. Like, it sucked. It is what it is. Like, I didn't harp on it. I didn't go home and cry, right? I would have liked to take the 90 grand and do something else with it, but it's too late. Like I had to try it and I was willing to take a shot to see what it would do. And it didn't work for us. We get out and go after it. We go get the business. There's nobody walking in to the In-telecom door at any one of our locations and saying, "Hey, we are dying to get your IT services." Right? We do get inbound calls today, but it took a very, very long time before that happened. A lot of it was referral, but we didn't just rely on referral. We went out and got after it and did it. Oh, we still do that today. Like we create our own destiny. So if you want to understand the process, um, set a goal of 5 to 8,000 in revenue per month and go get it. You can get that with two people and just chase it every single day. So I would highly encourage you to just set those goals in play and drive it forward. Sometimes it gets unprofitable. It's going to happen, but your business is annual, right? You can't make knee-jerk reactions based on a bad month. And I've done that myself, not having a proper financial department. And today I have a CFO. Frank Nazario is an incredible guy that is in charge there, and he gives me visibility into what's happening. That gives some comfort. But again, I ran my business for a very long time without that because not everybody can afford a CFO, and I understand that. Get a damn Excel spreadsheet, deposit more than you spend, and you're going to be all right. I promise you. Cash in, cash out accounting. I know some very large businesses that operate that way too, so it can be done. Next question we have here is, has mergers and or acquisitions played a part of your exponential growth? If so, when should an MSP consider doing an M&A? Look, we just did our first acquisition recently, and I'm just going to tell you that has its own challenges. So you got to remember, if you're going to go out and buy companies and you don't have an ability to do organic growth, like that's scary because now you're heavily reliant, and those mergers are hard and they break things, and it's adding a bunch of revenue at one time. We just did one in Texas, which added 11 million in top line to our business, so which is great, right? But we were already organically growing year after year, so we have now an ability to take that same model, inject ourselves into that client base, and drive the revenue up. I didn't buy them for their EBITDA. Actually, they were losing money 5 months out the year. And I bought the company because I knew that I could turn it around, and I was able to get a good buy and fix some of the culture that was there. A lot of things drive around culture. And if you're willing to drive, like we have a badass culture here at this company. It is incredible. I love coming here every day. But that also is something you need to think about in the M&A space when you're buying a company and integrating them. Do the cultures align? Because if they don't, that's going to be another challenge that's going to slow the velocity of your business. So yes, M&A is on our world right now, and we're looking at another purchase for next year strategically. But when we look at our revenue and our strategy to grow, we look at where's our MRR today, how much more can we sell and convert within the year, calendar year, how much NRR can we do to continue to fund it, and we build the model around that. And then obviously an acquisition just is like icing on the cake, and it just pushes it right on and moves up. So I think there's 1,000 different ways to build your MSP. A lot of you are not mature enough to go do an acquisition, so I wouldn't do it because you need to mature and you need to understand what impact that does to your business. And if you can't turn that company around, like now what, right? Like you don't have an ability to sell. So like now all you're forced to do is to go reach out to a private equity or investors to save your ass. And that's not a bad thing either. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's a lot of MSPs that do that. But that's not our strategy. Our strategy is to get out and grow the business ourselves. People say it can't be done. Our average, I had a call with our CFO this morning. Our average growth every year has been 27%. So I'm not, I think there's averages. I think there's standards. I think there's places where you maybe need to be based on all these different companies across the U.S. But I don't feed into that bullshit, and I don't get caught up on what other companies are doing. I focus on what I'm doing, and I'm gonna be the disruptor, and I'm gonna do it different than everybody else is doing, and it's working. And we've been doing it over and over and over again. So um, I really don't care what the statistics say. You get too many of these people in the space that all they talk about is EBITDA, and oh yeah, I want to get my EBITDA to 3 million, and then I'm going to sell for 8x, and I'm going to get 24 million. I've never been in a space that has more owners that all they talk about is their exit. Um, I mean, I get it. You got to think about it, I guess, at some point. I'm 41 years old. I'm having a kick ass time. That's not really what's on my mind to sell the business. I'm more thinking, how do I continue to grow and scale? And yes, it gets expensive. Yes, there's risk in play, but I started it with nothing. And if I got to go out with nothing, like I'm gonna have a hell of a ride. But I'm in control too. So like I get to pick my destiny and where I'm going. Like so, and I got a team of people around me that are just incredible. So I'm not afraid of anything at all. The leadership team, the service team, everybody we have here, they're rowing in the direction, and we're all bought in together, and we're kicking ass. So it's working. What were some of the challenges of growing? Oh shit! What were the biggest challenges of growing, and how did you overcome them to get past the $10 million mark? Look, we tried to get past it. It took us. We set the goal at 10 million 3 years in a row and didn't hit it. It was extremely frustrating. We still had growth, but we didn't hit the $10 million mark. Um, I held myself accountable. If I think back to what stopped us from growing in that time, would be visibility into the financials and understanding what I could invest to drive the growth, and taking some risk, right? We all get to that place. We start making a little bit of money. You realize, like, oh shit, man, like, do I really want to double down and move this thing forward? And that's really what it was. I think a lot of it, believe it or not, in some of the time frame, if I go back to those years that we went past that, it was because of me. I held my own organization back, and I should have been dumping into it and driving it forward. So again, taking my own advice, right? I think you should, when you get to about that $8 million mark, you should start really having a conversation with yourself that, do you really want to grow this thing? And are you really going to move it to the right place? And if you are, I would get a real CFO. Your CFO should not be doing invoicing. Your CFO should not be doing billing. That's a controller's job to run that side. Your CFO should be working on strategy and giving you forecasts and having an understanding of, like, if I pull this lever here, I can drive this lever there. From what I've noticed, even from that recent acquisition we did, most people don't know how to look at their financials properly. I think I had to learn that the hard way, working with Frank. And when Frank came in, he challenged me on what our financials look like, and really drove that. So if I had to give the best piece of advice, if you're going to grow your business, like, make the investment. If you got to take 6 months off of payroll for yourself in order to hire the right people to do things, are you willing to do that? We've done that, right? I had a $8 million company. I was paying myself 80,000 a year. Just in all transparency, I pay myself $250,000 a year, and I have a $34 million company with a run rate going into next year of 47 million. I'm making investments in the people that work here, right? Again, it's not a lifestyle business for me. So I really think maybe you need to think about that too. Maybe I should pay myself more, but I'm making the right investment strategically to build the team to be able to go do what I want to do and be able to deliver. The CEO's job is not to do the work. The CEO's job is to put the right people in play to do the work and be able to answer and fix the problems that those very smart people can't fix. And sometimes that's hard. And sometimes it's about just making a decision and rolling with it. Being a CEO is driving culture and motivating individuals and driving them there. So that's what you should be doing. You should not be working in a server or figuring out how this person's AD needs to get fixed. If you are, you're not doing CEO activity, right? And you need to find ways to get yourself out of it and do it. Like, let it go. It's hard to let things go. Y'all, I trust me, I know. I struggle with letting go in the sales side because I just love it. There's days where I'm just going to pick up the phone, and I did it yesterday. I walked in my sales department and just sat down, and I just was itching to make a cold call. And it's fun. It's exciting. The chase is it. I like being. I had somebody ask me yesterday. My service desk manager asked me, Shawn, how do you deal with being uncomfortable and go into these things that you could just get up and speak? And I like to be uncomfortable, because putting me uncomfortable is when I do my best work, and it's when I grow as an individual. So if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, I definitely would not grow your business and make it big, because it gets really scary. That payroll number gets really high, and it's a challenge. So you got to be okay with being uncomfortable. And I'm very good at that space. And I will tell anybody, you're not going to outwork me, and I will get out there and get after it every single day. Failure is not an option for me. I don't have rich parents. I don't have a fallback to go back to. It's on me, and this is my life. And there's 148 heads at this company, and soon to be 200 that rely on me as their leader to stay consistent and to drive good behavior and what we need to do. So that's what you have to do every day. Next question here. How do you identify new markets or verticals to keep growth moving exponentially? It's pretty interesting. I like that question in a sense that when you start looking at problems, and it's interesting because when you start looking at businesses, right, we all have the same problems, and they're very similar. So we didn't really define markets or verticals to hit in at first. We just drove revenue. And the next thing you know, we looked up, we're like, oh man, we got a bunch of financial institutions in this bucket. We got a bunch of dealerships in this bucket. We got a bunch of healthcare in this bucket. And we're a very horizontal company. But when you really think about business in general, they all have the same similar problems. So what I did from my perspective is I became obsessed with their business. So I would sell a healthcare agency, and then we have a large radiology company that has about 60 locations across the U.S. I became obsessed when there were about 7 locations of their business, and would work with them and their executive team on what they were doing and how they were doing it, and using technology to be efficient, and probably giving a lot of free work away, but like they paid me a lot. They still pay us today, and we've grown because of them, and we learned, right? So I think it's becoming obsessed with the vertical and really getting engaged on how do they make money. What are their challenges? Pick up the phone, and even if you don't sell that vertical, right, but you want to get into that vertical, start interviewing those owners and those general managers or those CFOs or COOs or whatever it may be in those areas, and asking the questions, not around IT, around their business and what isn't working and what are their biggest struggles, and then try to think of creative ways on how you can use technology, right? A lot of people would say in the spaces today we're in, what's some of the hardest part? Like finding employees. Got it. So how do you scale without employees, right? Process and technology, right? You have those 3 pillars, right? People, process, technology. So now if we eliminate the people side, what can we do with technology and process in order to create efficiency there? And start having some of those conversations with those verticals or markets. And every market is going to be a little different, right? Today we have clients in 38 states, I believe it is right now. And then we have locations in Louisiana, in Texas. So, and then we have resources in several states. But a lot of what we do is remote. Find a good partner in the market that you're going into, and don't be afraid to talk to them. I think that's okay. I think M&A maybe can be part of your strategy to get into a new market, or land and expand, right? You're going to be willing to get into that market and go inject yourself. I'm a big fan of like going to City Hall and introducing myself to the mayor and telling them what my plans are. We've tried land and expanding twice and failed in Alabama, but it's okay. Like we weren't afraid to do it, right? We still tried it. So I think that you just got to try things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and you got to be okay to fail. And if it fails, then okay, move on and let it go, and don't harp on it, and focus on what is working and just keep doing more of that and get really good at that. But I think the messaging's it's very similar. I've had a lot of people ask me here, like, what do you say to this person here? And I like to tell stories, and I've just done so many deals over the years, um, thousands of them, to where it's easy for me to relate to a certain organization, because I would also get engaged in that market or in that vertical and ask a lot of questions. So I think that's really, really important, to just get engaged in their world and ask them what's working. How do you bundle or price your services? Has that changed or grew? Was there a pricing model that worked better? I think that really derives on the market you're in, and what people will satisfy. Um, I think I am not a big component on what pricing is. I'm a bigger component on what is my gross margin based on this pricing, and what are the deliverables. So the faster you get in your mindset of quit thinking about price and think about margin and what is the expectation. And as long as you communicate that right, and they have a good understanding of what the deliverables are, then it always works. Yes, it's changed over the years. Yes, we've changed our stack. Yes, we've added things and moved things. Sometimes the stack gets highly expensive, and the next thing you know, you look up and you're like, oh shit, this is eating up my cogs, or eating up my margins. And what do? You have to adjust. You have to go and have conversations, build a really good CSM team. Ben Bergeron, our VP of revenue, really defined our client success team, and really he recently got promoted, and Lauren has taken that over and has done an incredible job with that department. And it was a huge investment on the front end, hitting us for about 55,000 a month in the very beginning. And it was hard because it wasn't delivering any revenue. And there was a lot of fixing that needed to happen with all this client base, but they've done well. So I think that's an evolution of your packaging. I think that can change too. And like, you can add some things. We're working on a new advanced security package right now to kind of add some add-ins on some new really cool technology that's hitting out there, to be able to go in and upsell our current client base that has the need for some of the things that it can do. But again, when you build the right team and have the ability for them to deliver, now it's a different mindset, and you get time to actually sit back and plan and execute. A lot of what we did over the years was just trying stuff. So we just did it. And we would just create a new package, and we weren't afraid to go. I'll never forget, we started doing our true managed service platform, flying up to Pittsburgh and sitting down with Jay Rurse and Drew, and having dinner and asking, like, what does a stack mean? I didn't even know what that meant. And they started to actually define what that meant and how to build a real managed service package. So look, don't overcomplicate it. And tools are tools, right? It's about the service you can deliver. Yes, we have a fiduciary responsibility to protect our clients and put the right systems in play. Don't overcomplicate that. Understand where you can make money. Understand at scale, right? You can actually get a little aggressive and find creative ways to drive that revenue. Sometimes it's a right to bear entry because it takes time for us to educate our clients on what they should do. In a perfect world, everybody that signed on would get SIM and all the advanced security products and all those things. And I think you have to digest that with your clients with a roadmap, and helping educate them and help understand what are those risks. And sometimes they're willing to take those risks, y'all. Like, and that's is what it is. If it's too much risk for your side to take in, then you have to fire them. We've done that. We just fired a client a couple weeks ago. Like, it is what it is. You get rid of them. Move on. Don't sit there and try to make it work because it's the revenue. This is a large revenue client too, and it just is what it is. Sometimes it's just not a fit. Like I said, I truly believe that this is a partnership, and there are plenty of options out there, and we're not always the best option, and they're not always the best option for us, and we're okay with that. And we're okay to take a chance and see if it works out. But sometimes it just doesn't work. It's all in water. So, but don't overthink your packaging. I would set your margins between 60 and 70% based on size, right? Don't do deals for $500. Walk away from those. There's a minimum expectation. I would say between $2,000 and $4,000, depending on how big you are. The smaller you are, I would focus on the $4,000 deal. Make sure your margin on your COGS is set around 70%. Back into it on a per user and per machine basis. And then we charge on both. We charge on the machines and on users. So we have to cover our COG cost, right? We're very transparent with our clients on how it's going to work. We're going to sell this deal at a 70-point margin. We're going to eat up 20 to 30%. I got another 16% in overhead. I'd like to be left with around a 16 to 18% net. I hope you understand how this works, and that's how we do it. I've shown our margin and sell our quotes or whatever ConnectWise wants to call that damn system. But we show it all the time. So we're not afraid to be transparent on what we're going to charge. You've discussed culture many times. How do you keep culture consistent while the team is growing quickly? Look, man, that's a really, really good question because it is super hard. Look, we've had really bad culture too. So we've been through the phases of it. And I think what you have to do is you have to work at it. Why is the culture not working? If you're an owner and you do not care about your people, you should not be an owner. Look, I love the people that work here. I have relationships with people that have quit. I have relationships with people that I fired. I truly care about the people that work here. It's what is my why every day. We recently had a new hire class yesterday, and we tell the story of the company to every new hire class coming in. It was our biggest class of 14 people, and 14 or 16, something like that. And it was incredible to me that I get to, I thank them for choosing to work here because they can choose to work anywhere. They're very smart people, and I know they can get a job. And it's flattering that they want to work here and they want to be part of this. I serve them. I work for them every single day. Yes, I'm aggressive. Yes, I have high expectations, but I'm also willing to give a lot in to those people. And I think our team members know that I'm truly bought into them more than just at work, right? It's their personal lives too. And if you're not thinking about how do you improve people's personal lives, people always say you can't bring your personal shit into work. Well, that's not really the way this works because we all have it. And I understand that you're not supposed to bring it in, but it does affect us. And that's just life in general, especially the last couple of years with all this craziness going on. So I think you need to think about that. And I think you have to truly care about them. And if you truly care, and people read through your bullshit, so it's not about buying a food truck or bringing in donuts. That's all. That's great. I think you should be doing those things, but you should really drive a culture of winning and really understand what they want out of their career. I think us as owners, the first thing we owe our staff is the ability to grow in a career path. And if you're not growing your revenue, you're not giving your employees a chance to be more than what they are today. I love people like Michael Streaker that came here and was working for $10 an hour pulling cable and now runs our cyber department, and looking at where he's gone in his career. And I've got to watch him build his house and have multiple children and really grow up here, and the relationships that this place has created for those people. We have people that are godparents of other employees' children, and you think about what we were able to build with a company and what it delivered on. Like, that's what it's all about. And if you just focus on your people every single day, I didn't for a while. I went through a phase where I was just focused on growth and I had my head down, and me and Jimmy were just selling and getting deals and just making it happen every day. And next thing you know, we had an employee here say this is the worst place she ever worked. And I remember going home that night, and it really affected me. I had brought tears to my eyes, and I just never, this isn't what this is about for me. If it was about the money, I'd just sell it right now and walk away. And I'm 41, I could retire, but that's not what it is for me. It's not about the dollars. It's more about the people and the opportunity that you get to create. And people always ask me what my why is, and my why is I want people to come to my funeral one day and tell my children how good of a person that I was and how I impacted their life, whether if they still work here or don't, and really create a legacy. So I tell everybody I want my picture on the wall. I'll never forget getting a client years ago, and there was a picture when you got out the elevator, and it was a man. And I asked the CIO, I said, "Who is that?" And they said, "Oh, that's, the original founder. And he created this company." And then they had about 800 employees. So it was just pretty cool. That thing about every day people got out that elevator and could tell him thank you for creating that, for giving them a place to work, that every time they go to the doctor and have good health insurance and all those things. So I think it's a component of paying people well, taking care of them, being flexible when needing to be flexible, and creating a true partnership with your staff. And I think that's when it works. And you should celebrate them. You should discipline them. You should keep them accountable. And when you build a culture of accountability, it does create challenges. But when you create an A-team environment, the accountability kind of all works out for itself, and people want to win. And I share my financials with the entire company every quarter. We share the P&L. We do profit sharing, and the reason we do that is because we wouldn't be here today without them. And yes, I did create this, but I didn't create it by myself. So you have to remember that. And you have to share that with your team, and you should be sharing the celebrations, and you should be sharing the pitfalls. Don't be afraid to put them in a scary place, because we're all in this together. So I think that's a commitment thing that you should be doing as a leader, and driving that out to the company. And celebrate the good months, celebrate the bad months. What can we learn from it? What can we do different? What causes bad month? What's driving this behavior down? Take time and bring your staff together. I think you'll find a lot of times when you start bringing people together and having collaborative efforts in the business, you can really do some really cool things. It's clearly worked for us, and it's continuing to work. So, and I would challenge anybody to come to our office and see our environment on culture. It's incredible, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. And it can be stressful, right? We fix broken things, and no one ever calls our help desk happy. So you have to especially drive that for your frontline folks that are out there dealing with the fires daily. So just my 2 cents. Take care of them, and they'll take care of you. What 3 pieces of advice do you have for small MSPs that are content with slow, steady growth? Keep doing it, man. Look, if you're happy, that's what it's all about. Not everybody has the same mindset. Don't listen to what everybody else is saying in the industry. If you don't want to grow and you want to build a great, small, tight-knit company, do it, and hopefully your people stay, but be transparent to them too, right? Don't not tell the folks that are in your company what your plans are, and then not allow them an ability to grow, or bitch when they quit because they're not making more money than they were making years before. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you have to accept that. I think you have to be okay with that. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. I think there's a lot of people out there that if I know that if they got into these shoes, it would crush them mentally. So it takes a lot of grit every day to do what we do. And if you're not ready for that, don't put yourself in that position. It's all about what you want out of it in the end. Like I said, define your why. Why do you do this? What is your passion? What is your purpose? And we have a different passion and purpose. It's not about the dollars, right? Do we want to make money? Sure. Right. We have to make money. We're not a nonprofit, but at the same time, like, it's more about the opportunity that you get to create for the people around you. And that's what's really exciting. If I look at what we're creating for our staff and the ability for them to grow and be more, it's incredible. People want more out of their career. You should owe them that. Like I said earlier, getting involved in their personal lives and really understanding that and helping drive what do they want out of life is really important. And if you're not doing that as an owner, or even a leader in a department, you're not a true leader. And that's what leadership's about, is really caring about your people and really helping them understand, and building a level of trust, right? I think that's a lot where people. I saw some TikTok a while back that had talked about performance and trust and what do you look for in individuals? And they interviewed a bunch of Navy SEALs, and the Navy SEALs said, "We'll take trust over performance any day." And on a sliding scale, we'd rather the high trust and an average performer than a high performer low trust because they have lives on the line, right? They could get killed and people could die. So I think again, build trust with your people, and that takes time, y'all. Like they probably don't trust you when they first start working there, and that's okay. And you probably don't trust them, and that's okay. Tell them that. Like Delano, our CIO, uses a good analogy about putting marbles in the jar and taking marbles out. So really think about that from that perspective. And what marbles are you putting in? And what have you done to lose some of the marbles in the jar? And it's vice versa. And I think communicate with your people that way and be open and honest. I'm probably the most transparent person you'll ever meet. It's probably one of my biggest pitfalls too, because it can hurt you too. So I think that's important to pay attention to as well. So,
Shawn, this has been awesome. I mean, this has been really good. I know that our audience has been eating it up, and the way you just answered these questions is awesome. We are coming to our last 5 minutes. Why don't you close out with just like final thoughts? If there's an MSP listening, either now or when we publish this live on YouTube, and just going to get hundreds of views down the road, it's if somebody's listening and they're an MSP, what advice would you give them?
I appreciate that. First, I just want to thank everybody for chiming in. It's flattering to see that we have people that ask me for advice. That's always a positive thing for me and reinforces what I'm trying to do. If I was to give one piece of advice is reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid to go reach out and ask questions. Don't be the guy that sits at the conference in the back room and doesn't raise their hand. Introduce yourself to somebody. Surround yourself with bigger people. I'm a big believer that you should be surrounding yourself with the right folks that help you understand where you can go. It's okay to outgrow the room. Don't be afraid of that. That's just life in general and what you want to get out of it. And again, if anybody ever has questions or needs help or, I'm an open book. I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm active on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, you can text me, you can call me. I am very busy, but I will respond. And again, I'm here to help too. There's a lot of people that have helped me along this road, so I'm more than willing to open up and answer any. We're not doing anything that's proprietary. There's no secret. If you're looking to understand how to build a playbook or follow the right people, Kyle and Alex and Wes at Empath and what they're doing is just incredible. Those guys have become great friends of mine, and I truly respect them at the utmost level. And I reached out to them on my own. I rose my hand at a conference when Kyle Christensen was speaking, and Kyle is just an incredible guy and has become a very close friend of mine. And he's taught me a lot, right? And I think that you got to be okay to reach out. Get your people training. I'll throw a plug in there for Empath. The product is incredible. You should be using it for your staff. If you're not doing yourself justice. So study and get better at your work and learn from the people that are doing it. That's where you get better.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, that's it for DCD 2024 this year. Shawn wrapped us up with the last session. We thank you so much for attending, participating, asking great questions to all of our speakers, not just Shawn today, but it's been great having y'all. And that's it. Shawn,
Thanks,
thank you so
guys.
much.